All right, so we're up on a property today. We're going to take a walk and show you why we think on this Upper Michigan property we're holding so many deer in the fall. Now, we were fortunate to shoot some really nice deer here last year, saw some great deer for this area. But the number one reason those deer were here is because of food. I'm standing behind probably a 3-acre food plot system. We're going to take you through it today, show you what we're doing. It doesn't look like much, folks. The snow just left the last probably week, and it's all wet. But here's the thing. Our rye's starting to green up and feed the deer. Our clover blends are starting to green up and feed the deer already. Everything's green that we want to be green. And we're going to walk you through what we believe is the number one reason that the deer are on this property, and for most properties across the country, the number one way to attract and hold deer on that property. Now, this may not relate to all properties across the Midwest. I know in ag areas, a lot of guys are like, oh, BS, I've got food all around me, blah, blah, blah. You know, I get that, trust me. We're not in Iowa, we're not in Illinois, but here's the thing, folks. I've hunted Illinois on big ag farms, and guess what? A lot of the hunting strategies still revolved around food, okay? If you're hunting a rut property, you still have to find the does. Where are the does going to be? Where the food is. The bucks are going to be where the does are, but the does are going to be where the food is. So most hunting properties need to have some sort of food component, okay? We're surrounded by thousands of acres of big woods. Our food plots are a massive draw, and we're going to walk you through it, but there's also strategies with the food plots, how they're laid out. I got a north wind right now. It's blowing at my back, okay? A lot of the good hunting days are with a north wind. As I look over my left shoulder, 20 yards, there's one of our blinds, our 906 blinds that you can get in. North wind access. I'm looking at where my truck is parked. I can see the truck right now. Okay, I'm standing in what was probably a HD food plot screen. We didn't get to plant this till August because we had that massive wet spring last year, and this is a lower spot in the field, and we didn't get to plant this. It still worked, but anyhow, these food plots, and we're going to walk you through this property, are all hidden. There's smart access by the hunters. They don't push it on days where the wind is right. I'm sorry, where the wind is wrong. They do not push it, okay? These deer never know they're being hunted. We're going to go in on some of the property where I haven't been in since last August. And that's why these food plots work. Okay, there's a spot I'm going to take you to where it used to be a food plot 20 years ago. There's a spot where we used to hunt. And we don't do that anymore. Because if I was to go hunt that food plot, this property would be ruined by October 15th. So there is a component of strategy in today's video, but we're going to show you why those deer are on this property, how we hunt them, and why this property has become, in 2 years, completely flipped around from seeing little scrubby sixes and spikes and forks to some of the best deer in the area. Here's an example of a food plot that we're not going to hunt. Now, this is in the middle of this property, and honestly, 20 years ago, there used to be a deer stand here, okay, and access was, man, it was through 250 yards that way from a cabin or 300 yards that way, and you're smack dab in the middle of the property, and you're looking how thick it is back in here. This is all deer bedding, okay? Now you're looking south, so west wind, you're blowing into that bedding. North wind on good rut days, you're blowing right into the bedding area. You're walking through the bedding area. So you could put a food plot here, but there's no way you can hunt it. So this is going to be a perfect example of one of those. I'm not sure what we're going to put back here. We want to utilize this because, again, if you look, it's just acres and acres and acres of just big woods. Okay, in this spot, it's not really producing a lot. As far as deer food, there's a little bit of browse. So I think what we're going to do is come in here and we're going to start to knock down a bunch of the popple that's still here to try to get some regen on the outside. We're going to edge feather the edges here, and then I think we're going to come in here with, I think, something like our forbs and forage. We might add a little bit of chicory to it, but basically they can sit back in here. We can create this, we can put a little bit of switch maybe on the edges here. Or Sundance because it's sandy soil, or all Sunburst, one of the two. And then we're just going to create a bunch of food back in here, daytime food, because if you go southeast 150 yards, that's where the main food plots start. So this is just going to be another spot that we're going to have some food, but it's not the high quality food. but again, it's going to help hold deer during the day. We're just trying to create daytime food back here in a spot that I feel is wasted. And food is the #1 component on this property that's lacking. And that's the purpose of this video. But let's create some food back here. Obviously, there's a little bit of goldenrod. It's poor sandy soil, so we're going to have to do some work with our full spectrum products, but there's not a lot of food. It's not high quality food. On a scale of 1 to 10, it might be a 2 back here. Let's make it a 6, but the 10 is going to be over there. Okay, I'm standing in the exact spot where we shot that 140-inch deer. Now there's, zoom in, there's a deer stand right there. Access, you can hear that road. Access is, come on finger, where are you? Back that way. We're looking to the east. Okay, and you can see 150 yards, that's where the main food plot starts. But here was food right here. This is seclusion right here. Doesn't look the best. We just forestry mulched that last August and put seclusion and rye and oats in. And I can see, even though we just had a couple of massive ice storms, I can already see the chicory starting to come. I'm telling you folks, these little kill plots, and that's what this is here. These little kill plots and seclusion, everything we have. This trail, this mulch trail walks, it wraps right around and pops out over by that birch tree. And they follow it like a dog on a leash, okay? And what we're gonna do here is start to plant this and thicken this up, because I don't like this opening. We might actually close that gap up and have them enter that food plot further to the east, so it's within an archery, and you can see you can shoot archery out of that blind. But this is where he came out of, and we're going to take a walk 150 yards to the north. There's an island and some cattails. I'm pretty sure that's where he was bedded, but I've not been through here since I'm going to say August of last year. I've not been past this point, and the only time I was in here was to retrieve our deer. But he came down this trail, started eating here, and he stepped out, and I shot him, and he ran, and he died just past that dead ash tree. So, you know, that's the power of food. And you look around here, and it's just acres and acres and acres and acres of this. Now, this property's been logged, I think it was like 8 to 10 years ago, and we're starting to get good regen. But here's the thing, folks. And you can bait here in Upper Michigan, and again, I'm not against baiting, or I'm not bashing it. I don't think it's a very good strategy for attracting and holding mature deer. What's the difference between this property and everybody else's is we've got that, okay? And we're going to put more of it in there. I'm starting to understand what they like the most, when they like it, and we're going to adjust our strategies. But food is the #1 reason that giant deer for Upper Michigan was on this property, standing right where we shot him. This is where our food plot, where it starts to get open. It's what, 15 yards wide, and then the big main food plots are all that way. So I really like sitting back here. We see more deer here than we do on the main food plots. But what we want to do is, we're talking about closing up a gap by that birch tree and have them funnel right through here, because it's a 30-yard archery shot. So what we want to do is we're going to clean this balsam out and have a couple of vines here so they can scrape here. And then the food plot system is going to come through here. And it's been logged, and it's just a bunch of crap and shrubs and stuff, but we're going to have it snake through here, just because we want the focal point to be close to that stand. You know, we could put an archery stand up, you know, a hang on up there, and again, we've got great access that way. So north wind is kind of blowing this way, south wind is blowing that way. I mean, this spot, what I like about this spot is, other than an east wind, you can still hunt here. But this becomes where the food plot system starts. And again, it doesn't look the best. I can start to see a little bit of green, but we just literally lost the snow. You can still see there's snow on the ground. It's still cold up here. But again, this is the #1 reason these deer are here. There's food here, and it's undisturbed. Last year, you know, we're dealing with stuff like this. It's really thick. Autumn olive, popple, and Brandon from First Choice Food Plots came out and did this Really nice job. And then I took a mini excavator and piled up a bunch of the stumps and stuff. But this is one thing that we kind of experimented with. You can see, again, as cold as it is, look at how the green rye is coming already, and there's food for them already. This is, you know, we're going to do that in another video, but if you don't have rye in these northern states in your food plots, you are definitely missing out. But this is the original food plot. God, those things are a nuisance. The original food plot you can see was out there on this property, and it kind of wraps around back here. This is brand new. This is like phase number 2. We're going to have food plot back in here. We're pushing it that way closer to the county road because we want to leave the bedding for the deer out here, but we're talking about food plots today. But this is one thing we did, and I thought it worked extremely well. We left this edge. We left a buffer between the 2 food plots, so there's separation. Now we left a gap here. I might fill that in, I'm not sure. Try to make it more of a strategy because that deer stand we were just in is right through there, and I want to put a gap where we can see it with a rifle. We can hunt with rifles here in Upper Michigan, you know, 30-06, 7 mag, those kind. You know, we're not limited to the straight wall cartridge. But anyway, we left this edge, and I think this is huge. You know, this is some balsams, some popple. Like I said, there's a bunch of autumn olive. This is a bow stand that was used like 8 or 9 years ago. It's not, that'll be coming down because you can't, obviously you can't get to it. But this edge right here looks pretty open. But honestly, during deer season, it works great to separate the food plots. You know, again, this gap is here. We might close it up with Milo or something. We're going to play around with it. But most of the deer are bedding back in here. And we wanted to turn this into food because it's closer to the road, it's closer to the access, and leave the higher spots, the better spots, the thicker spots. You see there's balsams back there. That's solid deer bedding back there. But now you look at this. Brandon did a great job with the mulcher. We did as much as we could, and it still grew. We did cereal grains. We drilled them, and I think actually we dissed the seed in, you know, talk about, because we were in a drought last year. You had to get the seed buried. This doesn't look very nice right now, but it was a great green field of food last year. As you can see, that was really attractive to the whitetails. They loved it. I think we're going to probably stay with cereal grains. One of the things we're going to try to get in here with is Brad Harper has that meltdown product that they use on corn and screen and switchgrass to help decompose that biomass. I think we're going to come in here and spray this with that. But, you know, although it looks like there's a lot of junk on top of the ground, we got most of the stumps pulled out. You can see you got a stump pile there. We got another stump pile over here, another one here. But you can come in here and lightly disc in cereal rye. I mean, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do here yet. If it's going to be soil builder or if we're going to do chicory and red clover, I'm not sure yet. But the biggest thing I wanted to talk about is this separation between 2 food plots. But so now this is the original food plot for the last 3 years until we opened it up. We started planting here. This was fall forage, radishes, red clover. And we have a strip of clover along the edge because if we want to drive back here, we can still drive back here and not harm the annuals. But I believe, I mean, you can see the red clover is just starting to pop now. There's rye popping. I can see browse on it already. But this is not the best soil and it's starting to turn around really nice. But again, you look at the separation from the 2, and we used to run some cameras out here in these trees here, and the amount of deer in both plots with the separation was pretty amazing. The only thing that's different is food. But you can see these food plots are hidden. There's a berm right here. They can't see the road. You know, it's hidden from the county road. And we're looking west now, so most of the wind is this way or north. You know, if it's a south wind, nobody hunts this property just because you can't, okay? And yes, food is a #1 factor on this property for bringing deer in, but you got to be careful with it too. You have to be careful. It's got to be secure. You can't be bumping deer off of it. I mean, you know, you saw one of our stands back here. Access is straight out the back door. And that's how we set this up. So, yes, food's the #1 draw to this property. but you got to be smart about it when you put food plots on. Man, it feels good to get out of the office and do some videos. You know, we've been busy. We took a vacation. We've had ice storms. We've had power outages, like I said before. It's really good to get out here. Gosh, I wish it would warm up. It's, you know, what is it, April 9th today, and it is just, it's still cold. I'm not really liking the spring up here. I know a lot of folks, you know, Illinois, North Carolina, Kentucky, you're planting already, and we did some frost seeding up here just for that video, but we're months away from doing any kind of planting. But I'm really happy to get out of the office and start doing these videos again. We're really going to concentrate on these. You know, I cannot thank everybody enough. We've been so busy. This is by far the best start we've ever had to a sales season. So blessed. Cannot thank each and every one of you enough. So thanks for watching, folks. Glad to get out of the office and start to do some of these videos.